All right. Welcome back to Off the Tap. This is episode 33, I think. Episode 2 of season 2, if we're going to call it that.
Yeah.
Um, but this week we're going to do Brooklyn Brewing's Oktoberfest versus Paradigm Brewing's Oktoberfest to see which one we like a little bit more and just talk about some random topics again.
Also, both called out as Marzens and or March beers. Again, very loose with their fiscal calendars back then, obviously, as they were brewed in September and or October. Anywho, they're both
Yeah.
called out. I just want to again, not that we're going to use too many callbacks, but I do want to call back to the fact that Marzen's written on the can. So, which one do we want to start with?
I think I'm ready to start with Brooklyn's,
Okay,
which
so
we did
let's.
Brooklyn's lager um, before, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm kind of excited to try this.
So I like the way that on the front of the can it's a Marzen lager, so that
Mm.
like those people that want to play along, but then on the back they really call out the Oktoberfest. So
Yeah,
also because we're gonna get into it, like just take a gander at the can, right?
yeah.
Yeah, keep that in the back of your mind. We're gonna break that open here in a second.
A nice like blue and white plaid look.
Yes, I guess for those that are listening, hence the podcast, yeah, blue and white checkered, picnic table checkered, picnic blanket checkered.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get into
When
this.
when you pop this, does it go?
I don't
Okay,
know. I don't really.
so we're gonna get a little bit of a pour. Ooh, mm,
It's got a
there's.
decent sniff to it.
Okay, so I haven't sniffed yet, but I just want you to do this for a second.
Do up for a second. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, good head, great. A little bit darker than I would have expected, but a lot more fizz than historically we saw from last week. So,
yeah.
no haziness, darker in color, little bit fizzier than obviously the ones from the last. Let me log in to. Did you save our scores last week? I forgot to ask.
I thought I did.
Well, I have them.
Oktoberfest. Okay.
I mean, I have mine. I don't have yours, obviously.
I mean, that's fine. I can always go back and write them down if I need to. Um, Kind of got like a late start to this, so I didn't really have it pulled up yet and ready to go.
What you mean, late start to today?
Yeah, I was just kind of being lazy today. I had a long weekend, man. Still kind of recovering.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, I thought I was the. I mean, obviously, I was the one running late, like closer to actual podcast time. But yeah, you definitely had the longer weekend.
Yeah. Just for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, our ex-host Sean got married this past weekend, so it was just a long weekend, but it was fun.
Ex-host, you almost make it sound like he left the podcast for her.
No,
That's
no, no,
the way
no.
that that was phrased.
That's not what I mean. He is always welcome to come back. It's just
Okay, that's fine.
no,
All
it
right.
wasn't like that. But
No, I know. I'm just. It's just that you make it sound like he was the one that quit. Like he had to leave
he
for
gave
some
up
type of
on us,
reason.
man. He
He
gave
gave
up.
up. Okay, here we go. So,
Um. All right. So what are you
oof.
thinking here?
What I mean, as far as first off, you should get into a breakdown of the beverage here.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So my list says it's a 5.5. Is that what the can says?
uh, hold on, I'm looking here. Yeah, 5.5 alcohol by volume. Yep.
And I'm very surprised by this. It says that the IBUs are 25.
I mean, it's got some bitterness to it, but not. I think that's fairly low. I would say.
Really? You think so?
I think so because like an Oktoberfest is like. I mean, sorry. I guess these are all Oktoberfests, but the staple Oktoberfest. The Sam Adams, I think, is like 15 or 16, and it's nothing compared to bitterness to this. So I don't know if it's logarithmic, like, pH or the metric system. I don't know how the IBUs work. Like, if is one exponentially or two exponentially more bitter than one, or is it just like incremental? I don't know. Um, but yeah, I feel like this is significantly more bitter than the Oktoberfest, like the Sam Adams Oktoberfest, and that sits at like 16 if I remember correctly.
Huh.
You don't
For
get
so,
any of the bitterness?
I mean, I'm getting a little bit, but for some reason, I'm remembering the two that we did last week being a lot more bitter.
No, no, no. I would say this is on par. This isn't any more, but any less for sure.
Yeah. Nevertheless, I think it's tastes pretty good.
It is pretty good. I'll also say I don't get like there's two things right out of the gate that impress me. Obviously, I'm not going to say oh it's going to trump the other two because we got to see how they rate. But out of the gate, it does have more fizz than the other two. Um, Color's nice compared to the cloudy one that was last week. I don't remember exactly which
I
one it
think that
was.
was the Texas, the
Yeah,
Oktoberfest.
the Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as cloudy as that. So color is pretty solid. Fizz is pretty nice. It is a little more bitter, but I don't get near the sweetness that we tended to be a. And maybe that's because of the bitterness, but I don't get near the sweetness that tended to be the theme of both beers last week.
Yeah, no, it's not very sweet, but it does still have a decent, like fallish flavor to me. Like I mean, an Oktoberfest flavor.
I would agree. Although I the amount of bitterness because I think it has more. I mean, you disagreed, but I think it has more bitterness than those both last week, and I think the bitterness is pulling away from some of those fall flavors that might be hidden underneath there. Does that make sense?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
it. All right. Well, there was something that you were wanting to
Okay,
talk about.
so again, we already had one callback. I don't remember exactly. Oh, the Marzen callback for those that didn't, listen to that joyous little rabbit hole. But so callback to last week. We were talking about, and I think it was more in passing, but we were talking about how music, obviously, is. I think it was during the Blink 182 discussion how music's only being recreated, right? There's no
Yeah.
new discoveries. Dude, get this. So literally, we left and went to the store with the kids. I had to pick up some stuff because I'm going out of town tomorrow. Um, and I needed some cold weather clothes, which obviously, honestly, is a separate topic we could talk about. As Texans, we're just not well equipped to understand the different types of clothing that you need for like actual weather that will kill you, but in the cold direction. We understand the weather that'll kill you in the hot
Yeah,
direction.
we got the heat. We got the heat.
Yeah, obviously. But anyway, so I was going to get like a new overcoat or whatever. So we go to the store and then we're coming back, and it dawned on me like I'm rushing upstairs trying to get the kids down, and it dawned on me, and I'm gonna do the best like I don't know if you'll remember these songs, but I'm going to try to do like the best interpretation of them, right? And this is a perfect, right? So, Beatles, right? There's something in the way she moves. James Taylor, there's something years later, there's something in the way she moves, right? Then Nirvana, there's something in the way. By the way, not only exactly same lyrics, exactly same concept and or like outset of the song, but in the same key with very similar, at least by number chord progressions.
Yeah.
Okay? Over the span of let's say 60s, late 70s,
30
early
years,
90s. Yeah.
40 years, or years
Right.
ish.
Exactly. So, and that's organically happening. So that, I mean, again, that's just one anomaly, I guess, that proves your theory. But like,
And
that's
you want to point that out really quickly. And Nirvana's known as like one of the best to ever write music. You know
So
what they did, you know what they did or whatever.
I would say, obviously, not from a complex standpoint, because everybody knew that it was just the same five chords. But lyric, I
Yeah,
think, is where they excelled, and
lyrically.
maybe melodically, he did some weird things with melodies too. Yeah, and even they weren't technically reinventing the wheel
No,
in the grand scheme of things.
they weren't.
Right? They did some Bowie covers. They also stole a lot from like blues. It all comes from blues, right? So blues musicians,
Absolutely. Everything comes from blues.
right? Which I
So
think
a
would
lot of
be
people don't understand that.
the foundation of country music, rock and roll, all of it. Anyways, he
Rap,
pulled a lot from that.
R&B, all of it.
Yeah.
Blues created an avenue for every modernized music that we hear today.
So I would almost wonder, like, what was there before that? We don't. No one ever talks about that story.
It
You know what I
was
mean?
I mean it was really like
Hymns, I guess.
well, like class, like what we say is classical now. You know, like piano and harpsichord and stuff like that. And then
Did you say?
it was like what?
Did you say harpsichord? What the hell is that? That sounds like a
It's
you.
like
That's like a kazookalele. That's what that sounds like.
no, actually, as far as I know, I think it was literally like a harp turned on its side. It was like a first version of a piano, kind of,
Dude, I thought that the piano was pretty damn old.
or
I
maybe it
didn't
was
know we
after the
were
piano, but it's very similar to a piano. It just makes different noises, I guess.
on the real though. Have you ever seen somebody play a harp?
I'm not in person. I mean, I've
Okay,
watched
there were
videos.
I have watched people in the airport play a harp, and dude, it's like weird. Also, it's one of those experiences. Like, there's a million guitar players, right? Like a dime a dozen, but like, still, when you walk by, you're like, oh, like you're a little intrigued. I'm not gonna lie. From a distance, I was like, holy crap, she's playing a harp. And then when I got up to it, I was like, man, she's playing a harp though. You know?
Oh,
I don't,
damn, bro.
I know that it sounds terrible, but that's
No.
truly how I felt. I was like, yeah, a lot of strings, Also, there's like a lot of ranges where I'm like, she could be hitting the wrong thing. We wouldn't know. I don't know.
I don't know. She knows what she's doing, you know?
I mean, obviously, she's got a gig at the airport. I don't know if that sets you at the top of the list for harp players, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the demand is for professional harp players, but anywho. So I
I
just
don't
thought
know
that
how
was
long it
interesting.
would be.
What?
Um, yeah, sorry, there we go. Um, sorry, I had something turn on in the background there for a second.
Whoa. Were you recording some proprietary, not proprietary, what do they call it when music is, what do you call it? Copyrighted? Is there copyright stuff running in
No,
the background? It's kind of, okay.
it shouldn't have been copyrighted. I think we'll be all right. But no, yeah, music is like it was almost like it was classical music, and then it was like these people found a guitar and they were like, "Oh, hold on, we're about to change
Well,
something."
yeah, I mean, and obviously it's all foundationally rooted with some type of. So here's that weirded me out, and I guess it seems simple enough, but technically a piano is considered a stringed instrument.
Yes,
Did you know that? Yeah.
because there are strings inside of it
Yeah,
internally.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that would be on like a top six answers on the board Family Feud situation, but if it would, now I know that as a fun fact.
Yeah, it's just not a handheld one, obviously. Although there are some,
Yeah, there's
like
also
the
we
guitar,
talk.
you know.
Yes, I also mentioned in passing the kazookalele. Also have one. Actually, the kazookalele does. It's a piano on a ukulele with a kazoo on the headstock, and so they. I mean, for those that can't see, I'm doing some really fun shenanigans, but
And then you had got the kazoo down there if you need to blow it or
yeah.
something.
Oh yeah, bro, you solo on that. It's the saxophone of ukulele jams, if you think about it. Like the saxophone is to jazz music guitar as the kazoo is to ukulele guitar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It
feel you.
fills that void of like sexy jazz air instrument.
Why don't they just use those like neck harmonica straps, but just throw a kazoo on it?
That's a good point. I don't know if maybe they just didn't think that far. Obviously, I don't know if there's a demand for this. I've only seen two kazookuleles. They're two significantly different YouTubers. So, not sure if they got in touch and decided they were going to create something and just run with it, or if it's something that existed that they both just randomly picked up. But that's the only two I've ever seen successfully in action. I
Hmm.
mean, they definitely got there aren't guys on tours with kazookuleles. Okay, this is something they're doing in their basements. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would like to see more. I would like to see more of the harmonica used in songs. I mean, let's be real. There's
So
only one guy that's done it right.
yeah, well, and he did it too right. Maybe that's the problem.
And
That
maybe
like
he
there's
was
people,
too good.
yeah, like
Yeah.
there's people that like Kenny G, awesome saxophonist, right? But like he wasn't so over the top that people aren't like, yeah, I'll throw some sax in every now and then. But there's a bunch of guys out there, the youth of the world are going to pick up a harmonica and they're going, I don't know if I could be any better than John Popper. And then they just hang it up.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Because
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like when I first started trying to play the harmonica, I was like, heck yeah, man. And you try to do just one thing that he does, and it automatically demoralizes you. You're like, no, I'll never be that good ever. I just won't matter.
I don't think I've ever truly tried, but also I'm just not that accurate. Because don't you have to like use your, this is going to sound weird, but like, don't you have to use your tongue to block certain holes and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you have to have incredible lung capacity, which I just don't have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy stuff that he can do,
I would
man.
be out on that for sure. Also, too, one last thing that I've heard someone claim that like when you throw a harmonic, okay, different end of the spectrum, but like I truly believe that you can throw a fiddle or a violin, however your particular knife wants to slice that. You can throw that in on any type of music and it'll fit. I don't care if it's like Metallica to like classical music, death metal to like what's the electronic dance music, EDM. Like you
Yeah.
throw a violin in, I don't know why I had to like say it out loud and then justify the acronym to myself. But anyways, you can say it like you can throw in a violin on or a fiddle, whatever, on all of that and it's gonna fit if done right, okay? But somebody told me that every time you add a harmonica to any music, it immediately makes it folkish. And when I
Mm,
truly agree, I don't disagree either. You know?
I don't think I disagree with that.
I don't disagree, but then I think of like, like Turnpike versus Blues Travelers. Obviously, different genres. I don't feel they fit together. I don't feel that either's one. Like, if Turnpike's folkish, then Blues Travelers isn't. If Blues Travelers is folkish, then Turnpike isn't. But they both include a harmonica. But then again, songs without a harmonica, I don't ever toe the line of folk or not folk, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like it's not folk unless there's harmonica.
Yeah, I think that might be true.
It's not
Ah,
folk unless there's harmonica, but just because there's harmonica doesn't mean it's folk.
that is very correct. Harmonica is the caper of music. It's lemon chicken without the capers. Then it's a piccata,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
That's the harmonica.
gotcha.
I'd be damned. It was written. It was clear as day. I don't know why we didn't see it until now.
Yeah, the Lord Himself was trying to tell us the whole time.
Yeah.
Man, I was a little bit bummed out about the Blink release, though.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't just me, right?
Now, I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it definitely wasn't like it didn't strike me as like OG Blink. It struck me as more. I talked about this with someone else too. Like it struck me more as like maybe they're releasing this one because they think it'll be more like the radio hit, like for like the current generation, because it was very like I don't know, like repetitive to me.
Extremely.
It was very chorus heavy, and like
Yes.
I feel like that's what a lot of maybe the modern generation prefers. So maybe they're throwing that out there first, and hopefully whatever's left on the album is not as modernized.
I think that based on that particular tune, I think the title of the record should be Punk Goes Pop.
Oh yeah,
because that's what I got out of it, right? It's a stereotypical fill the DJ's airwaves pop tune. Yeah, be very repetitive. Also, um, it had some elements of the self-titled album, with just some of the things that they did, which I think obviously they're probably calling back to that since the span of time that's passed.
Talking about
It
their album
also,
from like '03 or whatever, or like '04.
yeah, feeling this, right? The
Yeah,
the the
the song.
self-titled album.
Yeah, yeah,
So it had some feelings of that. Just in the way they had like a phaser in there, and there were some choruses that were put over toms. There was some fuzz that was in the bass. Like there was a lot of the same elements, the sound of that record. I felt them in here, but and then also they revisited. If you think about the content of the song, like the actual lyrics, they revisited some of the like just like screwy skater scumbag um like thought process that went into the Enema of the State album, right? You know, when they're talking about like all the time back then they were talking about like, buttholes and like just stupid crap was their content. So that
yeah,
kind of ties in a little bit to this. So you have the elements of that, you have uh the effects elements on the instruments that tie into the self-titled album, but it's super poppy. And then also, to me, ultimately, it sounds overproduced. Like if you were to hear that live, it would probably be way more enjoyable than the super overproduced perfect quality that we get on the radio. Like if they were to let that organically happen, probably sounds awesome. But because
yeah.
everything's perfect, everything's timed, obviously it's tuned, that's what gives me the poppy feel. And I'll get off the box at that point. But that's what made me feel when I heard it immediately.
I
And
think
I've
we've
heard it
talked.
multiple times since.
I think we've talked about that in previous conversations of how just all music these days is just too overproduced anyways. Like there's not enough rawness in music that makes it original, or like really like true mute. Cuz I mean that's true, you when you go to a concert or something like I went with my dad back in July to go see Ted Nugent. And dude, it's just so much different, man, Like it's
Is it
I mean,
just raw
he's
in
not.
what you get?
Yeah, man, it's just like such pure hard rock and roll. You know what I mean? And like that's what he sounds like on all his albums because that's just how it was back then. But like now, it's very hard to find a lot of bands or artists in general that sound true to the way they sound on their album because it's too
There's
overdone.
there's two things to be said about that. One is I think it's unfair to, I mean, I don't want, obviously it feels like, oh, I'm the one that's being attacked here. But like, it's unfair to the consumer because back in the gap, like you heard an album and you were like, oh, that's shit. Went and saw them live and sound quality was shit. Their performance necessarily wasn't all that great, but you're like, hey, that kind of sounds like the record. And so
Yeah,
you still had that sense of like, oh, this is great. Plus, you got to see him live, right? That was all experience then. Um, Nowadays, you don't have that, right? You hear things that go down on a record, and you're like, wow. If you do like that, I think it's overproduced. But if you do like that, you're like, oh my god, I really like that sound. You'll never experience that sound live because
no,
you're incapable of reproducing it.
yeah,
So yeah, that's almost like you're cheating the consumer, which is a shitty thing to think of. Um, but the other note on that is like I can't remember. I wish I could remember the specific example that we were talking about, but like there's just certain things too that organically happen that are imperfect that really make the melody or really make the tune of the song. It's something that like subconsciously you enjoy about the music when it's in impurity, whether it's in somebody's voice, whether it's in timing, right? Because back in the day, not everything was perfectly timed. It was a bunch of dudes that were trying to play to a click track, and it was what it was. Like if we're off a little bit, hey, nobody will notice. But that might be something that somebody enjoys, and that doesn't exist anymore. Everything's perfectly timed. So there's no flaws that create the anomaly that are attractive in music. Then also everyone's, whether you're auto tuned or not, everyone's perfectly in tune. Which, don't get me wrong, if somebody can do that naturally, like, yeah, I'll stop on the street and I'll listen to him. Like, that's amazing. She sounds great. But like, I don't think that necessarily begets great music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, and there was one more thing too that I thought about the Blink release was that it wasn't Travis Barker enough for me. And I'm what I mean is just like they seem to do nothing that was classic Blink with the drums, right? Like he always overdid it on their good shit, in a
Yeah.
good way, in a good way. That's just what we loved about him, you know what I mean? And this to me seemed a lot more like his Machine Gun Kelly drumming shit that he does, like it. I don't know. It was like you said, it was very popish the way everything was kind of done.
That's a good point. I don't think I paid enough. I mean, I'm sad to say this, but I don't think I paid enough attention. I think I was overwhelmed by the. Um,
Well, it's probably because you just didn't have to. Like there was nothing there to pay attention to.
yeah, that's a good point.
Like it was just very basic. It seemed.
Yeah,
It's a little disheartening, but
I saw an interview um, on It was actually on Rogan's podcast, but I don't think this is like an indicator of anything. I should also refer to him as first name. So on Joe's program,
yeah,
I saw I saw an interview that he did with Travis Barker, and they were talking about, I can't remember, but somebody had told Travis Barker like, "Hey, you can only go so hard for so long. Like eventually, your body's going to give out, right? You can't do that every night forever." And now he's in his 40s. I don't know exactly. I would say mid to late 40s. And he was like, "So far, I haven't slowed down." But like, he says that. Are we seeing it? Or was it just a shitty punk pop tune that they released off the album first?
yeah. I'm hoping that's the case because I need
Probably
I
so.
need some classic Barker back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there was one thing that I did want to talk about, and I haven't really, uh, I don't really watch this movie very often. But I turned it on the other day, and I watched like the first 15 20 minutes of it, and I was like, man, I really don't think this is a Halloween movie. I think it's more of a Christmas movie, and that movie is The Nightmare Before Christmas. And my reasoning is that it's Halloween characters, right? So it's a little bit spooky, I guess, in like the nature of it. But the whole premise of the show is that he wants to take over Christmas, and he's trying to take over Christmas the whole time. And so I just think it's more of a Christmas movie, man. I think we need to, as a community, come together and decide when we should watch this. And I think it's in December, not in October.
Was it like a capture the flag for Halloween? Because, like, if you think about the premise of capture the flag, it's like this no longer belongs to Christmas. Like, it becomes integrally, it becomes an integral part of Halloween. Is that what his attempt was, or he was like, no, as Halloweenites, man, making up some terminology here, but as Halloweenites, we now own Christmas as a sub holiday. How do you feel?
I think it was more of the fact that he's like just tired of only being known for scaring people, and he wants to like do something else. And that something else is be Santa, I guess.
I mean, how I mean, how much of the time does he like go around? To be honest with you, I have seen it multiple times, but I haven't seen it as much as I have Corpse Bride, right? The other Tim Burton claymation,
Yeah.
cluster F, right? Um, so I'm not as familiar. I also too, I will say this. I'm not saying that it's like a boring movie, but like I always have like these like super zealous thoughts of like, hey, I'm gonna watch that. Like, heck yeah, I'm gonna put it on. And then I put it on and I get like 8 minutes in and then like the kids aren't into it, I'm not into it, then we end up changing it, right? So I've seen the
Yeah.
first 20 minutes 10 times, okay? Um, but the other point that I was gonna make is like, do you feel that like the intention was like, does he hand out presents? Like, does he actually become Santa? Because again, I'm not clear on the storyline.
So honestly, I haven't seen the end of it in a few years, but I'm
What the
pretty
shit?
sure he wears like a fake Santa beard and everything, and like has a sled, all kinds of stuff, and I'm pretty sure he like goes around and delivers gifts, and, like tries to like the citizens of Halloween Town or whatever it is.
And so, whoa, 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 bro. Halloween Town, whole different flick.
No, but I think that's what
Whole
the
different
town.
flick.
But I think that's what the town in this is called, is Halloween Town.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what the
Um,
sign said in the beginning. I literally watched it like 2 days ago. The beginning of it.
that's that's also another hidden just crap of a gem. You know, it's
Oh,
almost like if
dude,
you
just
took it's almost like if you took like a plastic rock and then you hit it and you told all of society that, oh, there's this like super epic rock, and then they dug it up and they're like, yeah, it's a plastic rock. That would be Halloween Town in
yeah,
regards to flicks in general. Not
uh,
necessarily just Halloween movies, but like any themed holiday movie.
yeah. Halloween Town is a classic. It's a
But
horrible
it's
classic,
trash.
but it's a classic.
Straight trash. Okay, so you're saying that technically The Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie.
I think it should be classified as a Christmas
Yeah,
movie.
I honestly, dude, I think that it is. I don't know. You might be the only person that was misinterpreting it for a Halloween flick.
Maybe I just feel like it always comes up around Halloween, and like people talk about it around Halloween.
Maybe they do, but I'm pretty sure that's a Christmas flick. I would say like if again, I hate to go back to Family Feud, but like if this was 100 people surveyed, top 6 answers on the board, they're gonna go, that's a Christmas flick.
Okay. Okay, so we're
I
in
mean,
alignment
I know
here.
it's, yeah, I know it's one against one, but also I think the key that we should really call out here is it's Tim Burton's approach to monopolizing all seasons. That's what it is. He throws it out there. He's like, Nightmare, ooh, Halloween, Christmas, or before Christmas, right? Boom. So you're gonna watch it at Halloween and you're gonna be like, oh shit, this is actually a Christmas movie. What was I thinking? And then boom, lo and behold, Christmas is right around the corner. You're like, hey, I watched this Christmas movie, and so you watch it again.
Mm.
So he's really playing with your emotions. That's ultimately what's happening.
He's playing the market pretty well.
I mean, yeah, guy does not have a lot of things going for him. I mean, he's really kind of an odd cat, personally. I mean, not that I know him, but from a distance, kind of odd.
I mean, based on the movies that he's done, I can see a resemblance.
Yeah, but I'll give you that. It's a Christmas movie for sure. Although maybe because of some algorithm, it does pop up on the top of your like what's trending or whatever Netflix calls it, top 10 or what's trending around Halloween time.
Yeah. Um,
To that note though, so does Halloween Town. So take that whole top 10 with a grain of salt, Netflix. What trash. You know what I mean? If
yeah,
they're
man,
throwing
but it's
that,
such a classic, bro.
dude, it's so terrible. Like for me, it's like Hocus Pocus, and I'm not going in like the scary route. Like we're gonna keep all the like the
Like classicness.
the Halloweens, like right, the Mike Myers Halloweens, the Jasons and all that, whatever that stuff. We're gonna keep that in a separate bucket. The Amityvilles, like all the creepy stuff, right? But the generic PG, horror flicks, it's like Hocus Pocus. That's it for me. I
Okay.
don't know. I'm not doing
Okay.
Halloween Town. That's terrible.
Man, I don't
You
know.
know.
I think the Halloween towns are classics, man.
Okay, so here's the other thing. I noticed there for those that were actually paying attention, Halloween Towns, plural, because unfortunately they made more than one.
Yeah, I think they made four of them.
Yes, and here's the really crazy thing. I heard this somewhere. The main girl actor, obviously that's the only thing she's ever been in, but she was very upset that she was not cast as the lead in the fourth one. I was like, look, if your career was banking on the fourth
Hey,
Halloween Town, oh, you got some problems, you know?
yeah, that's true. Because I actually I haven't watched the fourth one, but I saw like the little picture for it on Disney or whatever, and I was like, that's not the same chick. What happened? Because they were all 2 years apart, you know. So like, what happened on that eighth year, man?
The other part of this is I would love to know, dude, think about like Marvel movies, right? Like if I'm not a Marvel watcher, but like if you took one of those superheroes and didn't recast them like in the next movie, then the world would be up in arms, dude. Literally, people would be revolting. They would be burning comic books in the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost guaranteeing that that was not the case when Halloween Town 4 was being cast. There was not but like two people. The
Hey,
actual
that's not the
actress,
same girl.
it was literally the actress and her manager going, "We stand for this." Like, that's the only two people that were infuriated about the fact that she wasn't the main character in Halloween Town 4.
Four.
Based based on the success of the other three, I'm convinced at some point that somebody had to have been paying her rent. Like it definitely wasn't the Halloween Town movies. Okay. Um,
Man, dude,
the
just
in fact, the only thing that made that, yeah, I'll get off this in a second, but I got this horse isn't quite dead yet. Um, who was there was like okay, I'm not a Star Wars guy, but Princess Leia,
yeah.
her mother was in the first one.
In the first Halloween Town.
Yeah, she was the grandma. But I don't know. I don't know
Well,
if she was in other ones.
she was in the second and third one then too.
Dude, what are the chances that you know that, bro? What are you
Because
doing with that you've
because
seen all three Halloween towns?
because I'm gonna admit this right now. Whenever I was sick a couple weekends ago, I watched all three of them.
Dude, on purpose?
Yeah, man.
What
Throwback,
the?
dude. Last time I saw those, I was like 7.
Okay, so Debbie Reynolds, I apologize to anybody that might actually listen to this because obviously she's a historical figure and she was the mother of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Carrie Fisher's
Princess
mother. But yeah,
Leia.
correct. So Debbie Reynolds was in the first three, as confirmed from someone who recently suffered through the series.
I mean, horrible
Dude,
acting and just sometimes just absolutely stupid story, but just classic, man.
I mean, I guess, but like one has to think, does classic mean terrible? You know what I mean?
It's
Like
not
there's a
it's
certain
not far off.
yeah, I think because I mean, there's
And it's
certain
just like
movies that are like you're like that's an amazing movie, but is it amazing because it's flawed and it's terrible and we just take
absolutely.
it for what
It's
it is?
I like
Yeah.
I know you said you didn't want to talk about it or whatever, didn't necessarily want to bring them up, but like the Halloween movies, dude. All of them are just
Oh,
they're just horrible, but they're so classic, dude.
yeah, but dude,
Friday the
you can't.
13th too.
I don't know if we want to compare like monetary success of one franchise to the other franchise, but like I believe that the Halloween series is in a completely different league
Oh yeah,
than Halloween Town.
by far.
Okay.
I'm just saying like I like that's it's a classic, but and it's just horrible. You know what I mean? Like I mean maybe not horrible. The first one's good, but like to make 12 of them, you know what I mean? And they're
I
all the
mean,
same exact thing. Like
okay,
they're
I
just
guess so.
piggybacking off of that just like nostalgic feel, I guess.
I will say this though. I've only seen Halloween Town maybe I've seen it probably 3 times, which is honestly 3 times too many. But I will say that I can remember the storyline, the theme, all of the trash that they spilled upon us. At least in the first one, I didn't succumb to the suffering of the other three. But I will say that I've seen the Halloweens probably each one of them, you know, a handful of times, 5 to 6 times each, right? Over the years and over the seasons. Still can't really follow the storyline. So there's something to be said about Halloween Town. I guess that's the only pro Halloween Town versus Halloween series.
I mean, there
Uh,
really is no. The story is he went crazy, killed his sister, and then just started killing everybody.
but why? And I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was his sister.
No, Jamie Lee Curtis was just one of the babysitters that survived that night, and so he's always hunting her down to
Rid her because she knows.
just yeah, because she got away. I guess.
Listen, since we don't know exactly why he went crazy, I'm just going to tie the two together, and it's probably because she made him watch Halloween Town. That's what it is. You can't live in this world, and it's your fault. So technically, the
Damn
killer
you,
here.
sister.
Yeah, no. It's Jamie Lee Curtis that made them watch it, and that's
Oh,
why he's so angry at her.
okay.
He wouldn't have had to kill her sister if she wouldn't have forced his hand by making him watch Halloween Town. One, alone, let
Well, he
alone
killed his
all
own
four.
sister, not her sister.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying he wouldn't have had to have killed his sister had Jamie Lee Curtis not forced his hand into killing his own sister, making him watch Halloween Town 1, let alone all four.
Hmm.
It's a
I,
theory. We can vet it
I,
later. It's a
I
theory.
mean, I think we should say he snapped and killed his sister because she was the one that made him watch Halloween Town. I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis's character was necessarily alive at the point where he snapped and killed his sister yet.
Yeah, because I thought she was the babysitter.
No, not for him. He was already long gone in like a mental institution and came back that night that she was babysitting for someone else.
Okay, so this is why the storyline is so convoluted, right? I thought that at one point Jamie Lee Curtis was his sister, and then I
Yeah.
thought, oh no, she was just babysitting them. But now you're telling me it's neither.
Yeah.
It's so there's a lot of flaws in that storyline that I think over time they were like, look, there's too many holes for us to actually wrap this thing up. Let's just start making stuff up.
Yeah. Well, they've even done that pretty. I mean, dude, the guy's unkillable, man. You know, it's
Well,
just.
yeah, I mean, I
I mean, all of them are. All those slasher guys are, dude. I
when
don't get
was
it.
when was the first? Okay, but so here's the other thing that I want to bring up. Was Jason and like all the what was those? They were Jason movies, right? What was that actually called? Was it just
Friday the
Jason?
13th.
Friday the 13th, excuse me. So,
And actually, the original killer was his mom
okay. So that
in
being
Friday the
said,
13th.
were those Halloween movies or were they just scary thrillers that because of their thrill and their scare were played around Halloween?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's just a seasonal thing now, but I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't alive whenever they came out, so I don't know when.
Dude, 1978. Okay, so I mean, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here, but Halloween, 1978, 1981, 1982, 1988, 1989, 1995, 1998. Which it's funny because that was Halloween H2O. Anyways,
Yeah, it was 20 years
2002.
later.
Touche. Hats off there. 2002, 2007, 2008, 2021, and 2022. I think it's safe to say they're gonna have to have like a geriatrics version. This dude can't be walking around anymore. I know he's supernatural to a certain extent, but he's gonna have a walker. He's not chasing people at this point.
This is what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying, man. It doesn't make any sense. He's unkillable, man. I know you probably didn't watch it, but I recently watched the well, not the one that just came out last week, but the one that came out in 2021. I watched that one while I was in bed, also sick, and
Halloween Kills, excuse me?
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
Halloween Kills, and boy howdy should he have died in the end of that one,
Really?
and he did
Don't
not.
spoil Hey, don't spoil it. I have plans.
Yeah, if
Which
it,
is a bold-faced lie.
if the yeah, if the fact that there's another one coming out didn't spoil the ending for that one
Here's what I
already.
love the confidence of the franchise. Um, Halloween Ends is the
Yeah,
title of 2022.
you know
I
everyone
find
says
that
saying bullshit right now.
that's like the last George Strait tour or the last time the Eagles went to Hawaii, right?
Yeah, it's
Like
the last
every
time
year.
George Strait's playing at the rodeo seven
Exactly.
years ago.
So, I don't know. All that being said, that's very interesting about that franchise. But I would be nice to know. We obviously offline, right? To use a overly uh, bastardized office cliche. Um, Offline, we should probably look into Friday the 13th and see if they were originally released to align with Halloween, or if just over time as a thriller and because they're scary, they were incorporated into
Yeah, I would
Halloween.
actually like to know that because I'd also like to know that with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies because I never got into those because quite honestly, those ones freaked me out the most.
Really? That one's not, if anything, the only one. Because wait, Jason's not supernatural, right?
I mean,
He's like a
technically, he came
normal.
back from the dead.
Okay, everybody's allowed one or two where they do some weird
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
You got to keep the revenue going,
You got to
bruh.
keep the audience on their toes a little bit, you know?
I just think there's scarier things that have happened in my dreams. I don't think Freddy's the worst. Like honestly, if Freddy were dumped into one of my dreams, he would be like, "Let me get out of here." Okay. So
That's
we
pretty
were
fair.
looking at Friday the 13th film series. I just want to see if we can find some release dates here. So the first one was 1980. Wow.
Does it say like
Um,
when in 1980?
I'm gonna see if there's an official release date. Um,
Because I actually like growing up, I actually always liked the Friday the 13th more until I was like, I don't know, 17. Then I liked Halloween more.
I would agree with that. I would say, well, okay, I never liked Halloween at all, but there was something intriguing about Friday the 13th. There was a storyline there that did have you intrigued. I didn't necessarily believe it, but I do feel like um, I don't know. I feel like I was more invested in that than I would have been whatever was going on with Halloween. The Halloween storyline was too up and down. There was a lot of walking and like panic, fast walk running, and I was like, man, I can't follow this.
Yeah, running upstairs to get away.
Good call. So May 9th is when
Mm.
Friday the 13th was released.
Okay, so just a horror movie
Yeah.
was
What
then
was the other one
moved
we
to
were looking?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, Friday the 13th were the Jason movies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sorry. I need to retract my previous statement. I meant Nightmare on Elm Street. That was something that it didn't scare me, but it had a lot more intriguing of a storyline than all of the rest of them for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was just for some reason, man, I would be like, I don't know if I can handle this because I want to go to sleep later without having to worry.
Oh, I was never necessarily scared like that, but so November 16th, 1984.
That's close enough, I think.
Does that make it more a Christmas movie? Discuss.
No.
It's
Is it
halfway.
is it
It's.
is it set in during Christmas time?
I mean, the dude's wearing a sweater,
Yeah,
bruh. I
but
believe.
that could just be up north, man. It's cold there usually.
I believe there's snow on the ground too at some point. I'm gonna get us a synopsis here. Should we move on to
Paradigm?
yeah?
Yes, we should. I'm a couple sips
So
in, honestly.
I'm sorry, that's fine. So close to home here,
Yeah,
based out of
Paradigm is a new brewery out of Tomball, I believe, right?
yeah, Tomball, Texas. For all you non Tejas listeners that aren't just us.
Yeah. Really cool place though. I've been one time last year, like right when they opened. And as far as I know, this is the first time they've done an Oktoberfest. But they have some stuff there that I do
Oh,
like, so it's a cool place.
I didn't know this was the. Well, they haven't been around that long, right? Maybe 2 years.
No, just for a year. They opened last year.
Okay. Oh, bro, real quick.
Large head.
Large head, great color. The haziness is only from the bubbles, which obviously will dissipate.
It does have a really good color.
Let's hope comes alive when we taste it here. I know we're probably close. We got like what, 10 minutes? 15?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I do want to circle back and then I'm gonna do I'll put my ratings in. So I wish that it would tell me here, but it doesn't tell me. Dude, also though, bang for your buck. They shot A Nightmare on Elm Street for $1.1 million. It grossed 57 in
Hmm.
theaters. Pretty good return there.
Wow.
Um, it does not include the time of year.
And I feel like
But
there was one thing that Nightmare on Elm Street never did that I really appreciated too. That I mean Halloween I guess technically never did it, but Friday the 13th just got crazy with their stuff, dude. Like it was like Jason Takes New York, where he like travels on a boat into New York and starts killing people. And then there was one where he was like in like a zombie that came back to life in space on this like spacecraft and was killing everybody that was on this spacecraft. I
I
was
think
like,
they were just
man,
like,
we're trying to reach way too many audiences, you know?
I'm pretty sure they were just like, look, we know it's failing, running into the ground, running into the ground. And then people kept showing up and they were like, "Oh,
What are
running into
y'all
the ground
doing?
again."
Yeah.
Um,
And they've only done one recent one, I think. And it was in like 2009 or something.
what was the premise of that? Like, what was the
Of Friday the 13th.
yeah, what was he going? What was he going after? Like, what was the like? What angered him, or why was he killing people?
So he, as a child, was tortured by like the camp. Uh, what are the
Scout leader?
not the scout? No, not the Boy Scouts. Like the teenagers that were
Bark twice, Lassie. Bark twice, Lassie. Where's the danger?
no,
No, what?
like the camp leaders or whatever. Like the teenagers that would. I don't. Anyways, he was tortured with
I'm gonna be honest with you. Everything that you're guiding me towards is scout leader. But like, are you talking about camp counselors?
camp
Like, what was
counselors.
this?
Yes, camp counselors. There you go.
Jesus. Thank God this isn't Pictionary. Go ahead.
I'm telling you, man. But anyways, he was like tortured by some of the camp counselors or whatever, and they drowned him in the
Okay,
lake.
but how far back are we talking? Like, when did he die? The 70s?
Oh, I don't know. When was the first one released? In the 80s, you said? 1980.
Yeah, 1981, I think,
So let's
or
say
80.
1980.
Okay, but
So let's
okay,
say,
all right,
and like I said, the first one was actually his mom getting revenge on all of them, and
okay.
then she dies at the end of that one, and but he's alive to witness it, and so then he takes over and starts killing
So
teenagers.
how is he alive to witness it if they drowned him?
Yes.
Flaw in the system. Also, or in at least in the storyline. Um, okay. Also, too, it just made me think of this again. I don't want to go too far off face, but yeah, we're headed in that direction. Anywho, um, how come there's no new ghosts, bro? Like, think about this, dude. Like, every time you visit somewhere or you're really into Mr. Begans and all of his craziness that he does, um, how come there's no new ghosts, bro? There's you're not you never go anywhere and they're like, "Hey, come on this tour and we're gonna show you this punk rock emo kid from like late 2007." Like it never happens.
They're all
They're
from
always
like the
like, "Yeah,
1800s.
look at this colonial folk. Like look at his dress. He's in a kilt." Like shit like that. They're never
Why is there not
like,
a ghost
"Bro,
that's sagging?
dude, Abercrombie and Fitch tight pants with like a sweater vest on or something. That none of that's happening ever. So I'm not saying that that's not helping the cause for ghosts, but like does make you think, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, that is a good point. I've never really thought about that.
Dude, I'm it's a small hole in the whole argument, but it's gaping. And it's a problem for me. So I don't necessarily believe in ghosts. I believe in the history of ghosts, but like you're not seeing modern day ones, you know? Instead of like think about it too. Think about this. Back in the gap, you see a ghost and they're like, "Oh, he would write his name on this stone with rock," right? Um Nowadays, when's the last time that somebody got a genuine ghost dick pic on their phone? Not never, right? And that would be the equivalent. You see what I'm saying?
This is true. This is true.
I don't want to
I
shatter
personally have never received a
a
ghost dick
ghostly
pic.
unsolicited dick pic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, think about it. Again, I don't want
Although
to shatter the foundation of ghosts and how you feel about them, but like something to be said about that.
although would it show up in a picture?
Yeah, bro, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, when's the last? I mean, the next thing I thought of was like, when's the last time that you got ghostly, terrible fast food service? Because that's what generationally a ghost would do these days.
Yeah.
But obviously that's not a thing. There's just a
Well,
number of things.
I don't know. Maybe sometimes like you get your order back and you're unwrapping it at the house and it's actually the way you want it. Like no, let's just say no tomatoes, but then you go to sit down and a ghost has put tomatoes on your shit just to spite you.
Exactly. So that's the kind of things that generationally these ghosts would be doing.
Yeah.
But honestly, all BS aside, I think about that a lot because every time you hear about ghosts, they pretty much genuinely stop around like the 70s, which is still modern for some folks, but like,
You might have just opened up a very, very good market in the film industry.
oh yeah, they should be going after new ghosts, but also too, they always say, I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole, but like they always say that like ghosts are like people that are troubled or they have things that are unfinished or whatever, right? Like that's why they become a ghost, okay? Maybe the generation of today is just so worthless that there's nothing else they could have contributed.
Just very unmotivated.
Yeah.
There's like nothing else they wanted to do. They're just out.
Nope. Nope. And there was nothing else they were going to contribute, right? They were like, nope, you peaked. Yeah, that's it, you
That
know?
was it. The guy said no cheese on the burger, and you put cheese on it anyway. So obviously you don't care.
And that's it. So,
You know,
anyways, that's just some food for thought.
pun intended.
But yeah, I didn't even you're the one that connected the pun. There was no pun intended for me, but obviously you punned it. Should we tally here scores accordingly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's do it.
Get into it. How are you feeling about this one?
So about this one, or are we comparing one to the other? Because I think I need to compare one to the. I know we're kind of doing it in pairs, and that's not what we ideally wanted to do. But I need one as a foundation each week to the other because one is at least 2 weeks in a row. One is clearly the front runner for me. So
Okay.
Um,
I think
uh,
I liked a lot of what I got out of the Brooklyn one.
yep.
Um, I thought I had a good taste and everything, but I don't think it was super Oktoberfestish for me.
Okay.
I really feel like this Paradigm one is a lot more Oktoberfest. It
Um,
has a lot more flavor. It is a little sweeter though,
yes.
but it has a lot more
So
flavor.
I'm gonna see how organically I rated here. Let me do the math on my fancy calculator here. Ooh. I the way it's like you put in a score for them, and then you were like, oh, excuse me. Oh, I'll just see how it stacks up. Lord. Oh, I'll just see how it stacks up. But then once it starts stacking up, you're like, oh, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I didn't expect
Mm,
that much.
yeah.
I having trouble with my file here to do anything with it.
Okay, so I have mine collected. Do you want me to go ahead and go?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so real quickly, by the way, um, this can ties into the Oktoberfest theme of white on blue or blue on white, as we mentioned last week, but it happens to be in the form of a trashy Brooklyn pizzeria, but blue on white versus red on white. So, yep. You get a couple of extra points. Kudos, Brooklyn Brewery, for tying into your shithole culture, but along with Oktoberfest. So, 23 points overall is what I had for the Brooklyn Oktoberfest. Um, and then, although I thought that Paradigm was going to be the front runner, it really only scores 24 out of 23 for me. So just slightly above that of Brooklyn,
It's just a little
but
bit better.
not just by 1 point. And there was really like three areas that it really excelled in, but it was offset drastically by some other areas where Brooklyn, I think, did it for me. But
Okay.
go ahead, shoot.
Um, yeah, I think I agree. I can't get my freaking numbers to work, but I definitely agree that uh I think Paradigm was just a very little bit better. It wasn't
Think about the oxymoronic approach of that. Very little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's right. That makes sense. But yeah,
I don't know. I'll have to get back on my numbers, but I would say maybe I would probably have it about as a maybe 2 3 point favorite over the Brooklyn. But I still don't think it was as good as the Odell for me.
I agree. So I still have the Odell coming in at 27 versus the 24 points that I have for Paradigm. Um, so Paradigm has some really key things. I think it's got great body. I think it's got great color. I think it's got great fizz.
I think
Okay.
this has been the best color that we've gotten out of any.
I would, yes, I would, well, I don't know. Odell had some pretty great color, but
He did.
I would say equivalent or very close to Odell's color. It by far has the best fizz, and it by far has the best body for me. Um, it falls flat in bitterness and acidity. It's kind of out of pace for what, again, it's my perception. It's kind of out of pace for that. Also, it has an aftertaste that's equivalent to the other two. The Brooklyn has a great aftertaste. It's like, hey, you're finished, you liked it, but you don't want to remember the bad about it.
Yeah,
And I appreciate
it
that,
did.
Brooklyn.
It
Thank
was
you.
very smooth. Brooklyn, I was gonna say, is one that I could see myself drinking a lot more of. because of
Yes,
the smoothness of it.
it's a repeater for
Yeah.
sure. Like I could go somewhere and say, "Hey, tonight we're drinking Brooklyn Octobers," right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna show up and go, I'll try the whatever paradigm. You're gonna say, "No, tonight, boys, we're drinking the Brooklyn Octobers,"
Yeah,
right?
it's very repeatable because
Yeah.
of the aftertaste and or specifically. Oh, so we're pretty
Um,
much in agreement again.
yeah, I would say fairly close. I'm actually very surprised that Odell is still the front runner.
I am
This
too,
excites
actually.
me. This excites me because I figured I was going to be able to look at like the can and be like, oh, well, I know this brewery. I know how they would do an Oktoberfest. Or, oh, I know this brewery, and historically they're not good at doing an Oktoberfest. I'll shoot from the hip. But that's not been the case. We're tasting them honestly, ladies and gentlemen. We're running them through the ringers.
Run it through the god.
Just run it through the garden. But yeah,
Um,
um, cool.
so yeah, the Brooklyn can I think is better too. Paradigm again is very new, so they're just doing their generic label on all their stuff for now, but it's just a generic fall looking can.
Yeah, the other
Um,
part, it's also based on the lifespan of the brewery. So like,
exactly.
case in point, Brooklyn, and I know not everybody gets to see the image, but Brooklyn has Ball printing this can.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a custom manufacture from Ball, right? This is a generic aluminum can with a added label, right?
Right.
So,
Take
and
it
that
for
could be
what it
based on
is.
volume. Yeah. I mean, we don't know. Brooklyn Brewer, I don't know anything about Brooklyn Brewery or the success of their historical Oktoberfest, but they're printing the cans, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I'm pretty sure it's an older brewery. Like I said, we did their lager and I really liked their lager, um,
Hmm.
which this reminded me a lot of actually.
Can you go there? Oh, well, here's the thing. Too much?
Um, no, I mean, in like the smoothness of it, yeah, but not necessarily the flavor. Again, it's I mean, has been over a year since I've tried it though, so take that with a grain
Oh,
of
okay.
salt. But
I wonder if you can go. I mean, can we go there? I'll be up that way tomorrow, actually.
to the Brooklyn Brewery,
Yeah, I'll be in New York
probably.
tomorrow.
You should probably see if you can make it in there.
That'd be. I just don't. You never can tell how big these places are because, like, obviously we know how big Paradigm is, and
Yeah,
like, not crazy, right? But
right.
we don't. Brooklyn's the hometown of other folk.
Yeah.
It's not just about us.
Well, in this case, it is.
Touche. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I say we move for a motion of closing out this particular episode. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, just if you're listening, make sure to follow us on socials. Our Instagram is Off the Tap Podcast, and our Twitter is at Off the Tap Pod. Again, Twitter's where we do most of the um, talking with fans and posting and whatnot. But
Also, too, it'd be nice, and I'm not just for the follows and for the clicks. I know this sounds crazy because, like, I hear people on the radio say this all the time, and obviously they're trying to like conjure up an audience. But for me, genuinely, it's because I'm intrigued. We need to come out with survey questions. Can we throw those up on Twitter?
absolutely,
So that would be great. And it's not for the I mean, obviously we'll take what we can get. It's not for the advancement of the channel. It's not even for the betterment of what we do every week because obviously we're doing it out of a labor of love for ourselves. It's ultimately because there's questions that I need answers to that I don't just trust your opinion, Randall. I need a number of folks, hopefully random, that could give their 2 cents so that later on I can come up with my own answer and disagree with them. That's what I need Twitter for.
yeah, we can try to get that going.
That'd be cool. And again, they don't even have to necessarily be beer related. I mean, they should be beer related, but I just really have questions sometimes, and I'm like, I wonder what the world thinks about that. But the unsolicited world, right?
Yeah,
That's what I want to. The people that stumble upon it, they're like, yeah, I'll give you my answer on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be interesting. So yes, back to it. Twitter, Instagram, and those are the main socials, correct?
Yeah, those are the
Cool.
ones that I focus on. So
Yep. And as long as we're focusing on those, we want everybody to focus on what? Until next week, remember, keep the fizz.